Hey guys, Josh Fullenwider here with the Fire Yourself podcast. I've had a lot of questions about Bitcoin. And I started having conversations about Bitcoin probably about 3 years ago, right when Bitcoin was first skyrocketing. It went from $6,000 to about $19,000 in a very short time period. And people were talking all about Bitcoin. And just as soon as it rose, it crashed. And, it went from 19 to 12 to 10, and then it kind of hovered around there, a little bit lower, a little bit higher. And then in recent months, obviously, it went up to 30, 40, and 50 really quick. And notably, some major companies, the biggest being Tesla, recently acquired $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Some other ones, I want to say Salesforce, but I don't think that's right. They've acquired Bitcoin, and there's some reasoning behind that besides just, they're hoping that goes up in value, or, Tesla says they want to start accepting Bitcoin as payment, so they've now invested in it so they can, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You can receive Bitcoin and not give them change in Bitcoin, so there's a deeper reason behind that. Bitcoin and these other cryptocurrencies are run on what's called blockchain technology. And I will be honest, I do not know enough about blockchain. I've researched it a lot, and I still don't understand it. It almost seems too simple to me, the way that I've come to understand it. So if somebody out there knows a lot about crypto, please enlighten me. But blockchain is a series of blocks that store information. Similar to the way your computer stores information, and it's all stored on computers. Surprise! So each block contains the information for it and the previous blocks, and when these blocks help facilitate transactions or currency, a change in currency, a change in contracts, things like that. And Bitcoin used tokens with this blockchain technology to essentially itemize the tokens and allow people to trade these tokens around. The tokens became valuable because people saw value in them and started paying each other for them. So they of course rose in price. So these blocks in a chain, and they're chained and they're linked because each block contains its information and then a bit of information from the block before it, so you can tell what is in it. It makes it really difficult to hack and change, which is why it's so secure, because in order to change, you can hack one block, but then you have to go and hack the other blocks behind it. With a powerful computer, you can do that pretty quickly. However, a lot of the successive blocks have not timestamp, but they're you can't change them quickly enough is the point of it. So you can change this block now, but it's got a time delay almost on it. So it takes 10 minutes to do the next one and 10 minutes to do the next one and so on. So that it's really easy to catch the hacking and stop it and prevent it from going any further, and makes it very time consuming on behalf of the hackers to do it. So it doesn't make sense. So that's one part of what makes it so secure. The other part of it is the ledgers where everything is kept, and everything is on a distributed network. And so you might have, an example I saw, it said, okay, you've got 10 different computers where this information is stored, and it's not all on one central server, because a central server is very vulnerable. So you've got 10 different servers where this is all stored, and could be more, could be less. Most likely it's a lot more given the what's going on in the world. But anyway, you've got these servers, and when a hacker goes to hack a blockchain, that's actually stored on 10 different servers, and it's all interconnected, but they speak to each other. So you can hack server number 1, but you haven't hacked servers 2 through 10. So when it's verified later on, and I forgive me, I don't know how often they check with each other, but it's frequently, the 9 that are correct overrule the 1 that is incorrect. So in order to actually hack it and make a change, you have to do the same very time-consuming process, not on just one server, but over 50% of the servers, in order to actually affect that change. So, very basic overview of the security and how secure it is. But that is one very nice thing about it. It is a very secure system. So the downside of that, if you ever lose a Bitcoin, it's gone. Good luck trying to track that down, because it is so secure you can't really find that block ever again, or the chain of blocks, however it's stored. Anyway, so going back to Bitcoin, what makes it valuable? As far as I can tell, the only thing that makes Bitcoin valuable is the same thing that makes money valuable in the first place, and even gold valuable in the first place. It's valuable because we say it's valuable. End of story. You take something like gold, and it has some intrinsic value in the fact that gold can be used, is one of the best conductors out there. It's used a lot in microchips and everything like that. So that's what's nice about gold, is it's a better material for constructing some things than a lot of other ones, but it's also shiny and pretty, and that makes it expensive. But so everybody got together, thousands of years ago, and pretty much said, we like this shiny metal rock, let's make it worth our money. So same thing with the dollar. Our government told us that, hey, this is how we're exchanging goods for services now. Use these dollars, they're worth something. Everybody in the country says, okay, we think that it's worth so much, so that's fine by us. So we believe it's worth money, which is what makes it worth money. The good thing about the dollar is there's the U.S. government behind it saying, hey, this is worth something. So there's definitely that presence. What's interesting about Bitcoin is it's not government enforced value or some intrinsic value. Like real estate is definitely an intrinsic value. There is value in the land. You can build a house on a piece of land. You can mine a piece of land for other natural resources. You can do things with land. It makes it valuable. The Bitcoin, everybody just kind of got together and said, we think this Bitcoin is valuable. So what's its value? Nobody knows yet. Everybody keeps changing it back and forth, and new people keep buying it at a greater price, which is driving up the value of it. So if Bitcoin to me is only worth $5,000, I'm going to sell it to the first person that's going to offer me $5,001 for it, because I think I'm ripping them off, essentially. Where's the price of Bitcoin going? Probably about like real estate. I think it's going to take a long time to stabilize, but it's going to eventually there's going to come some consensus as to what the value of Bitcoin actually should be based on the volume of transactions that it is participating in. With that being said, the volume of transactions Bitcoin is participating in is only going to go up with companies like Tesla investing so much into it and saying, hey, we're going to start taking Bitcoin as payment going forward. So in the short term, it's probably got a long way to go up. It's going to be a very bumpy ride. As many people that become millionaires off of Bitcoin, there's going to be an equal number that probably lose millions off of Bitcoin. So the question becomes, why does the company in Tesla take on that type of risk? That's not in Tesla's business model, not really. However, I will say Tesla is, a tech company and a cutting-edge car company. So to be on the cutting edge of, and that's not really even the cutting edge of blockchain also, it makes a lot of sense for them. They want to be the premier leader in those technologies. So how does Tesla make money off of Bitcoin, or are they even wanting to make money off of Bitcoin? The good thing is Tesla doesn't need to make money off of Bitcoin. They bought Bitcoin, they're invested in Bitcoin, and if it goes up, they can sell it and make a lot of money. However, in the meantime, they don't have to do anything with that Bitcoin. It's just a storing place for the money that they've already got on hand. So they don't need that money immediately. So if Bitcoin price goes up, they don't have to pay taxes on that appreciation until they actually sell the Bitcoin. Conversely, if the price of Bitcoin goes down, Tesla can choose to sell at a lower price and take that loss to offset other income. Either way, it's a win-win for Tesla. Most smaller investors like you and I would be looking at Bitcoin purely on a speculation standpoint, and that we think it's going to go up in the future. We're speculating that it's going to go up in the future. So we are wanting to buy it and hope and praying that it goes up. For us, it's almost gambling. For Tesla, they can use Bitcoin either way. Whether it goes up or goes down, they can use Bitcoin for to help their balance sheet and their cash flow a lot. So the big question, should you invest in Bitcoin? Maybe. I can't give you a good answer on that. I can say the 3 years ago when I first started having this conversation, I bought a very tiny amount of Bitcoin. I made $300 off of it, thought I was great, so I sold that enough to that $300, captured that $300. I invested $1,000 at that time, made that $300, sold it, put that in my pocket. I'm like, okay, now if I lose anything, at least I've got $300 back out of that $1,000 I put out there. So felt really good about myself. That $1,000 immediately went to $700. I'm like, well, this is the stupidest thing ever. So I sold it, figured I broke even, and walked away from it. It was too risky for me. There's not enough research as to what is driving the price into it. I think there's too many market factors that will continue to drive the price on it. For instance, when Tesla announced they bought Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin immediately went up a good chunk. They got the Tesla bump, and people made money. Great. Would that have happened? Would there have been that bump if Tesla hadn't announced it? Probably not. It's almost like a mini market bubble, but it was very quick. I think there's going to be other bumps up on the way, and I think there's also going to be some companies that say invest in it and then back off of it, and it's going to cause mini depressions in it. It's going to be a bumpy ride whether you invest in it or not. It's interesting, but I can't see any fundamentals actually behind it as to, okay, here is the economy's doing X, or it's not trending against treasuries. It's not, as far as I can tell, and the research I've read, there's no correlation between any other metrics or indices or anything like that you want to look at. So should you invest in it? If you've got money to lose, so feel free. Just be prepared that you could lose it. You could double it, but who knows, really. One thing a lot of people are confused about is that you don't actually need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy just a fraction of a Bitcoin, which is how I bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin when the price of it was, I think, $1,800 back then. No, $18,000. It was $18,000 back then. So I was able to buy just a fraction of a Bitcoin. And I used Coinbase to do it, and it worked pretty straightforward, so no big problems there. So when you say, well, I don't have $50,000 to invest in a Bitcoin, that might be true, but you might have $1,000 to buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. Probably just got a whole bunch of people in trouble because now they know where to go to buy a Bitcoin and that they don't need $50,000 to do it. Whatever you do your research, be prepared to lose. Don't put all your money into it. That could be very scary over the next year if you invest your entire retirement into Bitcoin. Could turn out amazing. You could turn out broke. So just be careful, guys. Do your own research. Refer back to my other video that I just did here recently on would you rather have $1 million in debt and $10,000 a month or $3,000 a month in income and no debt. If you like the no debt, don't invest in Bitcoin. If you said $1 million in debt and $10,000 a month isn't nearly big enough on either one of them, Bitcoin might be right up your alley. So that's all the advice, research, and everything that I've been able to put together. I am not an expert. Well, I've done a ton of research, but I do not feel like an expert in it. So I cannot tell you to invest whether or not it's a good investment. Only you can really determine that for yourself, guys. Good luck. You all have a great day. We'll talk to you later, Fire Legion.
Hey Legionaries, thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like, comment, and share, I'd appreciate it. Let me know what type of topics you'd like to see covered in future videos.